Hey everyone, this is Dr. William Clark, your host of the Dr. William Clark podcast. Glad to be back with you for another episode. This is the podcast where we talk about all things fundraising and leadership and strategy in the world of nonprofit organizations. I'm excited to be with you. I want to talk as best as I can in the time that we have about this topic of how to acquire a building for your nonprofit. This is certainly a hot topic for a lot of people, particularly newbies who are trying to break into the space and trying to figure out how can they get their hands on a building. We'll talk about this, but real quick before we jump into this, I want to make sure I invite you to join the Nonprofit Fundraising Strategy Academy. This is the academy that I've created just for you to talk about all things fundraising and to help you learn how to fundraise and raise major money for your nonprofit organization. If that's what you're looking to do, if that's what you're looking to learn, certainly the academy that I offer available and make available is for you. When you join the academy, you get access to my live coaching sessions on a monthly basis with other students. You get access to my 60-plus library of videos that I have available, teaching you about the 3 secrets of fundraising. You also get access to tips, tricks, and tools that I use to fundraise every day. If that's what you're looking for in an affordable package, go ahead and visit me at nonprofitfundingstrategies.com. Again, that's nonprofitfundingstrategies.com. You can go ahead and click on the enroll button, and it will take you into the portal, and you'll be a part of the academy immediately. Again, go ahead and visit nonprofitfundingstrategies.com. Now, I want to talk about how to acquire a building for your nonprofit. This is a hot topic for a lot of nonprofits, particularly for new ones, because I think people feel that if I have a nonprofit, I have to start the journey of getting property. And I'm not sure where that mindset comes from. Um, I really can't say. I think people have all types of beliefs, concepts around why they believe they need to have and own property outright. Let me just say, before I walk through these strategies, there are better solutions to get yourself started. Like any other business, you can start in your basement, in an office, in your home. You can utilize community space to serve your clients and to do whatever you need to do for your customer base and your community. So acquiring a property doesn't make you more official, doesn't make you less official. Some may say for credit building purposes, for legitimacy, you might want to get an office, which those things can be done affordably and much more cheaper than what I'm getting ready to share with you right now. But just keep your options open. But this particular podcast, I'm going to focus on the acquisition of property. I will say that what I'm about to share with you comes from experience from the nonprofit side. Also comes from my experience as a real estate investor, rather. As you guys know, if you've been listening to the show for quite a while, I've owned a real estate company. We invested in real estate when I was living in Philadelphia. So a lot of this is a mixture of both, and I want to get you started on this. Now, there are 2 segments I want to cover here. The first segment I'm going to cover is the acquisition strategies that exist. The second part I want to cover is how do you finance this stuff? So there are about 8 things I want to say about acquiring the acquisition process of a building. And I'm going to try to do this in a lot of time that we have for our podcast session here. First thing you can do is get it for free. You can find a donor who has a heart for your mission and your purpose, and who wants to give you a property for free. You can certainly do that. That is a worthy strategy. However, the challenge with that is finding the donor. So you got to find somebody that actually knows you, that likes what you're working on, and wants to give you something, and who also has either a property already in their portfolio or has the resources to purchase that for you. The next strategy, number 2, is to go with a dollar purchase. That's right, $1 purchases. You see this every so often in various cities and municipalities where cities are trying to get rid of properties for, you guessed it, $1. It's pretty prominent right now in Baltimore, and I'm not in the Baltimore market, but it is widely known that it's there. In other cities, if you just do your research, it's not always available, so don't take my word for it as, hey, where are the dollar properties? Like, no, it might not be happening in your city right now, but be on the lookout for dollar purchases from your city. These are purchases where you can purchase a property for $1. However, you must, and again, look at your municipality, but you must have a redevelopment plan, a strategy, a budget, and a deadline. So you got to check out what is required to buy that property for $1. Third, you can buy a property at market rate prices. That means just like any other person, you go in an open market, you get a real estate agent who will represent your interests, find what you're looking for, and you pay market rate prices. Another way to acquire properties through an owner-held mortgage. This is a popular thing that I do recommend you look at, and that is a mechanism where a owner of a property, depending on what you're buying, is willing to sell you the property for a small down payment or reasonable down payment, and that person will hold the mortgage. You will pay them. They become your bank. If you don't know anything about that, check that out. Search around what that means. That is a really cool strategy that you can deploy. The fifth strategy that you can use to acquire a building is through wholesale agreements. Again, do your research. Wholesale agreements is when you buy property that is not listed, that is off market, from people who may not be real estate agents, but they may have access to real estate property just because they run in circles with various investors. Having done that for a season, I can tell you that stuff works. However, you got to know what you're doing when you do that. Sixth strategy I want to share with you, the sixth way to acquire property for your nonprofit is through tax liens. These are properties that owe taxes on them, and the city wants to recoup their revenue, and they will sell the property cheaper than the value, but you got to have cash. The seventh strategy would be a short sale process, buying a property that has money or debt owed to it, and you then buy it from a bank who wants to get rid of the property at a discount. Again, you got to have access to capital to do that. And then the eighth strategy, final strategy for this section, is to go through the lease or lease purchase. Again, as I open up this segment, you can lease a property for a couple $100 a month. If you have in your area a place, office space specifically for nonprofits, office parks, you will find space cheaper than regular offices for for-profit businesses. Search your community. If you don't have that, then look at small offices where small startups are renting space, particularly co-working spaces. You will find affordable prices there. If you find a way to pay for it and afford it, you'll be surprised what you can afford. You get access to a private office, also meeting space, event space, etc., all a part of your rent, including security, photocopying services, other stuff that just you can't afford on your own as a nonprofit. So look at that. However, a lease to purchase is a strategy I'm going to focus on. This is somewhat similar to the owner-held mortgage, but you rent for a season or a period of time, and then portions of that rental fee you're paying goes towards a down payment, which then allows you to eventually purchase the property from the owner, whether you're doing a mortgage, owner-held mortgage, etc. And maybe I should have just with the market rate purchase again, which was number 3, you can buy that cash or get a mortgage. All right, so then the question is, how do you finance this stuff? Okay, so I got 8 ways to finance this stuff if you are a nonprofit. You can finance it through contracts. You can finance it through a fee contract or a fee for service, which means that if you have a contract to provide a service in your community, for your state, for your city, etc., there may be revenue attached to it that is unencumbered, unrestricted. That means that if you have a profit from the contracts, then you can use the profit from your contracts to actually purchase property. So this is the designation that we should focus on, right, when it comes to nonprofits. Yes, you can make a profit, you can't keep it. You can't. No one owns the nonprofit itself. And so, with that being said, since no one owns the nonprofit itself, you have to reinvest any profits. This is a great way to reinvest it. Take the profits from a contract if you run a great business for the fiscal year, and take the profits and purchase a property cash or use it as a down payment, or whatever the case may be. Second strategy, grants. There are grants out there that are unrestricted in nature. There are capacity building grants. These grants are few and far between. If you're fortunate enough to grab these, this could be a great strategy. We got a grant a couple years ago just to do, it was an unrestricted, whatever you need to do grant, because we believe in the development of your company, your nonprofit. And it was a couple $100,000 that could have been used to purchase property if we were doing it at that time. So if you're able to come across grants like that, unrestricted, think strategically how you want to use those unrestricted dollars, depending on the investment entrepreneurial mindset you may or may not have, the mindset your board may or may not have. This could be a cool way to acquire property and get on your way to becoming sustainable. The green book right over my shoulder. This is what I write about. Different ways to sustain your nonprofit organization. Third way to purchase property through donations. Ask people to donate, individual donors. Ask them to donate to this purpose, to donate dollars to the acquisition of a property. Fourth way, sponsorship dollars. Sponsorship dollars are going to come unrestricted, more unrestricted than grants. So when you get sponsorship dollars from people who are sponsoring your nonprofit, not an event, your nonprofit, those dollars should be unrestricted. When you negotiate those terms, you take those unrestricted dollars and you use them to purchase a property. Again, cash, down payment, whatever the case may be. Number 5, we talked about this in a previous segment, but owner-held mortgage. This is a cool strategy. I'm telling you, this allows you to not worry about tapping into the credit line of your nonprofit, having to be approved or whatever the case may be. It's a negotiation between you and the person who owns the property. If they are willing to hold the mortgage, you might find this as a cheaper, more affordable way to get property, lower down payment, lower interest rate, agreeable terms. If you get into any financial trouble, an owner who is the bank, him or herself, may be more open to having a conversation about payment challenges you may be having if you're going through a drought of revenue, economic downturn, etc. They may be more feasible to deal with than a bank. These relationships can be life to your nonprofit if you're going to use this to get a mortgage, not a mortgage, but get a property. Sixth way to finance this, traditional mortgage. Again, qualify for a mortgage. You get the mortgage for the property. May have to put some money down, depending on where you live, what type of bank you're dealing with, etc. It is what it is. 7, you can acquire property through partnerships. Partnerships where you can have a partner buy the property. A partner may buy the property, sell it to you for $1, and they get the tax write-off. A partner may buy the property and lease it back to you at market rate value or cheaper or for free. Partnerships can be key. People are looking for partnerships for all types of reasons, and if you keep your eyes open, if you know how to add partners to your portfolio and engage partners, this can be a lifeline. And then number 8, line of credit. If you have a line of credit for whatever reason, you can use it to acquire property, pay the line of credit back, and do it all over again. This is in no way an exhaustive way to acquire property and to finance it, but these are ways that I quickly came up with for this podcast, and I think it could be helpful for those of you who are looking to get started. I encourage you to consider this thing before we sign off on this episode, and that is, while everybody is so focused on acquiring a property and purchasing a property, very few people think about the sustainability of the property. How do you keep the bills paid, the lights on? How do you keep the utilities going? You got to afford to pay for the property, capital upgrades, the heating system, the cooling system, the hot water heater, all that other stuff of owning real estate now comes into play. You are not acquiring a building just to provide programs for your community. That's cool and all. When you acquire a building, you are now becoming a real estate owner, an operator, a landlord. You're becoming a multi-business operator as a nonprofit. So please make sure you keep tabs on your sustainability plan. It would make no sense for you to work this hard to acquire property than to lose it because you can't pay your bills, pay your taxes, keep your utilities on, etc. All right, so these are things to consider. If you want to talk about this further, learn more about these strategies, particularly around partnerships, how to develop relationships that can yield the acquisition of a property, I want you to join me at nonprofitfundingstrategies.com, where we talk about the role of partnerships and how they can help you engage in building your nonprofit. Again, go to nonprofitfundingstrategies.com, click on enroll. Would love to have you to be a part of the academy. This is Dr. William Clark for the Dr. William Clark podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace, everybody.